Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. And this is the beginning of a new week. This week is, I think in a lot of my podcasts, I really ask hard questions and ask us to ask ourselves hard questions. I ask us to move the dial psychically and mentally so that we have the fortitude to accept and balance whatever ends up happening in our weekly Astro vibage. But this week, it is not the week for pontification, my friends. We have been doing that enough. We have had enough ideas, thoughts, sensations around what we want to do next, and this is one of those weeks that I want you to do something about it. I want you to get up and go. And, I am a Libra, so we don't like to be pressured to go, go, go. I think the busy regime that we have invented as a society in America is lame. That's not the kind of go, go, go I mean. What I mean is, it's time to start putting some of these dream seeds, some of these healings we've done, some of these notions we've had into action or actionable steps. What steps now can you take today? We've spent a lot of time putting our socks on, lacing up our shoes, checking for inclement weather, and now it's just time to go. It's time to do something. It's time to feel the rush of action. And whatever that means to you, do that. It's not a blanket statement of just go when you don't have anything to do. I'm hoping if you've been listening to this podcast, this is a personalized message that it is time to move those feet. It is time to move that ball up the hill. It's time to get to a new summit. And we have great astrology this week for us. It's an energizing astrology, which doesn't feel that way this morning as I am waking up, getting ready to start back at school, getting ready to start my job all over again. And yeah, I can sit here and be like, is this the week? Are we sure? I mean, my voice isn't even sure if it's the week, but it is. It is the week. It is the stuff that dreams are made of, as Carly Simon likes to say, big Carly Simon fan. On Tuesday, we have a Venus cazimi. A cazimi means a planet is right up into the sun, and in astrology, we love this because that planet gets highlighted. It gets, broadcasted across the cosmos because the sun is there, highlighting it and making it bigger. And it's in Capricorn, and we have so many planets in Capricorn right now, which is the planet of hard work. It is an earth sign. It rules the house of career and what we are giving to the world. So how can we work hard? How can we show up and be present for the world in the ways that we have been saying we want to? It's put up or shut up time. And with Venus being in a cazimi, it starts a new Venus cycle, which is like a year and a half. It's like a year and a half cycle of Venus doing something different. So, that's about how you're relating to people. Venus is relational. Venus is love. Venus is what you see around you, the beauty around you. How do you, and maybe because all of this Capricorn energy has already been pretty righteous, you felt the need to be cleaning out the things. You felt the need to be picking up things, getting rid of things, moving things around. That's very Venus cazimi vibes. So that can be the thing that starts us. What do you want to be relating to? And in this modern society, what I intuitively go to is be careful what you are viewing right now, what you're choosing to watch at the end of the day. We're all social media, TV, whatever people, and attuning to why you're watching what you're watching is going to be really important, because what we look at feeds our soul or takes away from our soul. And the light is starting to come back even though we are still very much in a winter cycle, we can start bringing our own lanterns to our own parties here, guys. We can start being the light we wish to see in the world. And a Venus Kazemi kind of shows us how we're wanting to show up in that way as lovers, how we're wanting to show up as artists, as musicians, as people who, despite great strife or despite whatever's going on in the world, we want a more beautiful universe in which to live in. So how can you make that so? How can you attune to it? How can you prepare for it? And how, most importantly, can you be it? Because that's what love is. It is a state of being, and it is an action-based reality. You can be loved and be loving, and the world can rise to meet you in that love. And it's more about the quality rather than the quantity of that. And it is what we feed ourselves every day. It is what we choose to watch and read and listen to. So listen to the good music and read the poetry and look at beautiful sights and manifesting things, documentaries of beautiful places that you want to see, or no TV or social media at all, so that your thoughts can have a break from all of that stuff. So that's kind of beautiful energy to start the week. But dreams take work, says Capricorn. And so what are you willing to work towards to find a more harmonious balance in your Venusian self? And then, basically the theme of this week is that Mars and Venus and the Sun, but primarily Mars and Venus are talking to each other. They're doing this dance where they will be in each other's energy. So it's like boy vibes and girl vibes, up in it, up in each other's business. And do you like this? And how are you balancing it? And how are your relationships? And how are your situationships? And how are your friendships and partnerships and business-ships? How's all that going? Because then, after all this love vibe of a Venus Kazemi and what we need in love to feel more fulfilled, here comes Mars. And Mars meets up with Venus, and they come together. And so what comes up when Mars and Venus come together? Relationship shit. How we are balancing our warrior and our lover. How are we meeting in the middle of finding peace? And sometimes in order to find peace, there needs to be a little war. And I don't love that as a Libra. I don't love ascribing to that belief, though, reading as much history as I have and how much we repeat itself, that conflict is what leads to resolution. And we don't have to do it the same way or a big violent way every single time. It doesn't always have to look the same. It doesn't have to be a big fight. It doesn't have to be something that takes you away from yourself. It can be powerful. Mars and Venus together can be yin and yang. Mars and Venus together can be understanding joy and love and connection, because I have understood loneliness and desolation and doubt. Those things can come together, and Mars can pave a new path for us. So if Venus is busy just loving and just wanting love, Mars is the thing that says, well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to work? Because Capricorn, how are you going to work for this? How are you going to make this valuable through your own efforts? And sometimes that can represent as fighting or discourse or things not feeling cozy or things feeling like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Mars, Venus. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Sometimes we need to go in our cave and sometimes we need to talk it out. So how do we find that center? Mars and Venus want to know. Well, always in Capricorn season, it's going to be about the work. So look for where the work is in your relationships, whatever they may be. How do you work towards peace and harmony and coming together? And that might make it sticky. Wednesday might feel sticky. There might be vibes that don't feel great. There might be a sense of tumult or a sense of imbalance. And really, it's about rectifying that instead of going really deep into the fighting space. Finding the balance of sticking up for yourself, finding the balance of saying what you need while doing it with diplomacy and care for other people. That's really the trick. And then Friday, Mars does what Venus does. It has a Kazemi. And so whatever that fight was, whatever that hardship was, whatever that needing to resolve or come together, it's almost like Mars is like, oh, you just did that, huh? I see what you were saying. I see what you were trying to say, says Mars. I have to work on that. I have to do that. I have to move that dial. I have to, charge forward with this if I want to, get success or find movement in that. So then Mars starts its new cycle. So, wow, that's really interesting to me that Mars and Venus are starting a new cycle in the same week. And we have to stick up for ourselves different, and we have to love different, and we have to love ourselves differently. And we have to highlight that, and it's going to be mirrored throughout our reality. I mean, in what's going on in the US, there's a lot of tumult. There's a lot of opposition. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of not seeing the other side. And maybe these Kazimis can help us come together a little bit more to find a solution instead of just more problems. I kind of love that for us. So it's so good. And then on Friday also, as Mars is beginning this new cycle, Venus is opposing Jupiter. And now all of this is lightly opposing Jupiter, but now Venus is actual opposing Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of luck and right timing, but it also makes things bigger. So whatever lessons we started at the beginning of this week become bigger for us to really sink our teeth into, for us to really understand better, different, what we were really aiming for in this love and peace and connective tissue that we call our lives, that we call our bodies, that we call our soul connections, that we call just being human. And I like a good Jupiter opposition because then it's harder to deny what's happening because Jupiter makes things bigger. And then Saturday, the Sun and Mars do the same thing. They come to oppose Jupiter. So it's almost like Venus leads the charge this week and Mars brings up the rear. And I like that because it's better to lead with love than to lead with our warriors. But our warriors have a lot to teach us. And if you're familiar with peaceful warrior and you're familiar with pen being mightier than the sword, and if you're familiar with these tales as old as time of what we do with power and why absolute power corrupts absolutely, and why the word no can be so powerful, is because of how we use it, is because of how we wield it, is because of what we say, is because of what we do and the steps we take to do it. And if all of this energy is in Capricorn, I know we'll find some kind of solution because Capricorn doesn't like to live in paradox. Capricorn is a let's get this done. Capricorn is a I have a lot to do. I'm busy. I want to work hard too. And so I want you to sit with yourself as these things are happening this week, as maybe discourse comes up or hardship or a feeling of dissolution or a feeling of feeling far away from each other, is that if you feel far away, it's up to you to step more in. It's up to you to roll up your sleeves and come on in. It's up to you to have a hand in it because we can't just stay passive. A passive life is a way to not learn very much about yourself, says someone with loads of Sagittarius placements. And I bring that up because a Sagittarius says, you can't tell me what it is. I need to learn it for myself. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've touched a lot of hot stove countertops, both literally as a child and metaphorically. I like to go in and make it spicy so that the lesson gets learned through my own iteration instead of just a theoretical. Some people love the notion of sitting in theory and learning that way, but nobody escapes themselves. Nobody escapes what it is to actually learn a lesson or what it is to actually move the dial, to actually move something in your life and get results. To me, this is the chi. This is the Shakti. This is the Dharma we so very much say we always want. But a lot of us want to stay on the sidelines of our lives and play it small because, boy, even if we don't love where we're at least it's not worse than what it could be. And what a limited way of thinking. If we're going to be afraid of what it could be, then we're not going to attract the good stuff. We're going to attract all of the fear-based thinking. And our thoughts really become our realities in a significant way because our thoughts drive us. And we really only have control of so many of our thoughts, because a lot of our thoughts are wedged into how we were raised, into our traumas, into what has happened in the past. And it is an old running system. But we do have the power to update our operating systems. Yes, we do. And some of us are very afraid of that update. You know, those people that are like, your phone wants to update and they're like, nah. And they put it off until your phone like actually blows up or like does it for you in the middle of the night and you didn't have a choice. And then you wake up in the morning and everything is different. And you don't like that. And it sucks. That's kind of like how some people live their lives. They keep putting away the updates. They keep putting it off until life comes for you, because we can't just skid by and expect life not to happen, because life be lifing. And if you don't decide that life is going to life you, well, then life is going to life you without you even noticing. And then you're going to wake up one morning and be a victim of your own circumstance. And nobody wants that. That's not the play. Especially not this year. This is not the play this year. We don't play small. We don't put it off. We don't divert the conversation. We sit here, palms on our chin, and we say, let's go. What is it? Okay, tell me. Instead of saying, I don't want to know, say, no, really, tell me. What is it? What are you upset about? What are you angry about? What are you ready to move through? Because the more awareness you can draw around it, the more action-based thinking you can apply, the easier, better this is going to go, because this is movement energy. It wants to move. And if you are going to be that dog on the leash that pulls, well, you're going to end up with a sore neck. You just are. Because you're going to get pulled along, dragged along. The poor pads of your hands are going to get sore from like the gripping of the past that you're doing. And why are you doing that? What are you afraid of? This is a face your fears moment, because Venus and Mars come together and are having this conversation about discord. And if you're not going to do anything about it, then there is this shell that one can go into that I like to call the victim complex, that keeps you so small. It keeps you so limited. And then your capacity shrinks. And then your ability to engage in the everyday and in the outside world becomes limited. And then you become limited. And then your brain starts to atrophy, and it becomes those thoughts that at the beginning of this cycle I was talking about, the thoughts that you do have control over, the very few ones that you do have control over, you lose control over, because they become an operating system that is outdated and not able to move with the changing tides and the changing times. We are made to move. We are figures of movement. We are made to grow, and we evolutionarily need to, so that we can survive whatever is around the bend. And we can't do it alone, says Venus. But we have to do it with strength, says Mars. But we need to do it with enlightenment, says the Sun. And we need to do it with trust, says Jupiter. So go big or go home this week. Do something about it. Do it. Just do it. Because if you don't, then you really are the victim of your own circumstance. And it's hard to feel sorry for people like that. So the card I pulled is Between Worlds. We are between worlds. It's true. It is a liminal time where, as an astrologer, to me, this isn't the new year. It is a new year, but it isn't the same as how I think we process the new year. Like, we need to make these weird New Year's resolutions to go work out or some shit. Ugh. Whatever. We make these false fantasy goals just because the year clicked over. And really, we're still in the dead of winter, you guys. The dead of winter. We are between worlds of what is going to be and what is currently. And we're going to start moving the dial and making progress. But that doesn't mean that you need to like put a bunch of these weird false expectations on yourself, or to be a completely different person than you were before. This is not the vibe. This is not what I am saying when I say that things are going to come to move you and change you, and that your operating system is coming for an update. What I mean by that is we are still us. We don't intrinsically need to change who we are. We just need to change what we're doing about who we are, what we're doing about our evolution, how we are evolving, and why. And being in between worlds is a great place to be. It is a liminal state because we are still in winter. The astrological new year isn't until Aries season, which is more springtime, because that's when things start to grow. Right now, a dead-ass winter, things can start to move and shudder while it is freezing. And when I say it is a week of action, I say this is the time. This is the time to start the things that will bloom in spring. And in Chinese New Year isn't until February, so Fire Horse isn't here upon us. We still have some shit to transmute. Hate to break it to you. The snake is still here. And I think of that imagery for this ending of a season, for this new beginning kind of vibe, because the snake symbols, sometimes it can be the mouth that eats the tail, and round we go, and we can get stuck in cycles. And this like between worlds vibe is a time to see where your cycles are limiting you. And snake energy is a time to shed and transmute. And this week really feels action-based in that reality. Like the skin is almost off the snake. And then it is about the movement. Now it's the wiggle. How do we get that skin off us? Because bitch is still there. And she flaky. And she dry as you know what. So we gotta shed it. We gotta move it. That's how the snake sheds it. That could be a tongue twister. It's how the snake sheds it, is by movement, is by wiggling out of it, is by allowing it to go. Maybe there are skins you've worn that you don't want to go. So think about that. But this is an action-based week to start moving and shimmying and shaking. And when we do that, it moves the ground around us. It rustles the dirt around us. It moves the leaves and the grass and the dirt and the worms and the everything. And sometimes that can create calamity, Mars, Venus. I want you to be okay with that. I want us to feel safe in that whatever leaves us was never meant to stay, and that what stays is here to build off of. So lean in and get to work. Thank you so much for listening. Always ever a pleasure to sit here in space with you, even on an early Monday morning where me giving all of this advice doesn't exactly feel tidy. I'm tired. I want to go back to bed. It's not winter break anymore. It ain't. Get to work. That's a message for me. I will see you next week. Please like and follow. Do all the things because I so deeply appreciate it, and I so deeply appreciate you. I'll see you next week.